Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. This is Dr. Makemba. We welcome you again to join us on this platform in our pursuit of wisdom as we continue with our Wonders of Wisdom series. Today we are yet looking at another very interesting subject matter. We will be talking about laziness and the negative consequences of laziness. And we will be contrasting that with some examples to see what laziness has done to certain parts of the world. And look at how we can go about overcoming laziness. Let's first start off by defining what laziness is. Basically, laziness is simply put as an unwillingness to work or to put your energy to productive use. It can also be, called idleness. Basically, laziness can also mean idleness. The challenge we have in the world today is that by far, most part of the world, especially on an African continent, people at large, we have become lazy. We don't want to work hard. We do not want to innovate ourselves. We do not want to become creative. We do not want to, invest time and energy in doing something productive. Yet we want to see significant growth in our lives. And that's quite a paradox. Why? Because it will not happen that way. You cannot have $1 million dream with a minimum wage work ethic. In other words, if all that you're willing to put in is, work ethic synonymous to a minimum wage, that is all the reward you are getting and you are taking home, however much a great dream you might have. So it is of paramount importance that we learn to be individuals that are given to, being creative, being innovative, always changing, working hard, and putting in the hours. And every time you are given a task, you are about to engage and undertake, a vision or a mission, pertaining to your own personal life, business, career, you have to give it your A game all the time. You can't, give it a half-hearted approach. It will not work that way. You gotta be very consistent. You got to work hard, and you have to beat laziness. I just want to give an example quickly. If we look at 3 companies on planet Earth combined with a net worth of almost $4 trillion US, this is Facebook, Google, and Microsoft. Now, if you compare that to Africa, Africa as a continent, it's almost about $1 trillion, $1 trillion. Now, you look at 3 companies, 4 times of a greater net worth than the entire continent, with all the enormous amount of resources this continent has. Just 3 companies combined, their net worth has already beaten us. So it is telling us that something has gone wrong with us, especially in an African context. We are not creative, we are not innovating, we are not working as hard as we ought to. We are basically lazy. And it's time we wake up and we smell the coffee. And it's time we start, going out there, setting priorities right, working hard, pushing the bar high, going against all odds to basically come out of, this, state in which we are. Africa as a continent has capacity to transform the entire universe with all its resources. But the problem we have in Africa today is that we do not want to work hard enough. Research has shown that little over 90% of all graduates, this is now the whole world all over, they stop reading as soon as they graduate. So in other words, when people go to university, as soon as they get their diploma, as soon as they get their degree or certificate or their PhD, and then the university graduates them and hand them over the paper, that is the last time they read a book. That is the last time they read an article. It is very, interesting then to note that, so many people, so many graduates, haven't gained a great wealth of information at the time they were a student in a university or in a college. They graduate and they become redundant. They get a job, they work an 8 to 5 job, they knock in, they knock out, they go home, and they wait to hit 65 and get retired and go home. And with all that effort you put in going to a university, you will walk, live, and die and not invent anything that transforms the world. Why? Because, you stop studying, you stop reading, you stop gaining understanding as soon as you graduate. And then guess what? You basically start dying. You have a paper, that is mounted to your wall to say you are a graduate, but you are not growing. Why? Because you don't read. You find young people, for instance, we knock off on a Friday. We are looking forward to going home. Then as soon as you get home, you are seated in the couch, your eyes are glued to your television set, watching, movies, hours after hour, throughout the whole weekend. And yet, you have $1 million dream. Yet, you want to transform society. It will not work that way. And then you contrast that to another person that has an understanding. They knock off on a Friday afternoon. They get home. And then he has a stack of books. And he has a library. He has 4 books on finance that he's reading. He has 4 books on leadership that he's reading. He has 4 books on family that he's reading. And you wonder why this fellow is 150 miles ahead of you. Because all you do is you are watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians the whole weekend. You will literally have a lot to keep up with if you go that way. The world is far advancing. People are transforming their lives. We're living in a very dynamic world. It's not static. It's changing all of the time. And we have to change with the changes. Remember, the only constant in life is change. And it's your ability to manage change that will define whether you make it or you don't. And if you refuse to change, eventually life will force you to change. And within this dynamic world we are living in, there is no place for laziness. You've got to be given to hard work. You've got to become creative. You've got to become innovative. And you've got to go out there and make it happen. And I'm talking to young Africans. I'm saying, let's wake up. This continent has given us all the reason to make it. We have given ourselves all the reason not to make it. It's time we do it different now. We can't just be waiting on our governments all the time. Yes, I do understand government has a role to play. It is the responsibility of the governments of African nations to make sure that we enjoy peace and stability. It is their responsibility to make sure that human rights are respected. It is government's responsibility to make sure that they create, an environment where business, especially SMEs, can take off and flourish. But it is not government's responsibility to come into our homes and to tell us to get off our bums and do something with our lives. I'm talking to young people especially today. We can blame our leaders all we want. Yes, all leaders make mistakes. We do not agree with all that they do. But the fact is that if you get up and start going, do something with your life, nobody is going to stop you. The sky is not even the limit. So the only person that can really keep you from becoming who you are destined to be is you, not your government. So young people in Africa, we need to wake up. Young people in Africa, we need to start working hard. This clip is sent out there to you, and I want us to have this conversation. Let's challenge each other. Let's look at life differently now. We have gotten, political independence. If you look historically, most of, African countries and part of Africa, for decades we have been under the oppression. It was not a plain field. We had all kinds of colonial powers oppressing us, refusing us access to what will make us better people. But now that we have access to everything we need to make it, it's up to us to make it. We owe it to ourselves. And the generation that are yet to be born, will judge us if we do not raise up to the occasion and do something with our lives. I just want to say, stop being lazy. Start working hard. The world does not owe you anything. You owe it to yourself to make it in this world. This world was here before you came. So there's possibly no way the world can owe you anything, because you found this world here and you'll possibly leave it here. So you are just here for a period of time. You have to understand you need to play your role within that period of time that you are here. You got to grind, you got to go out there, you gotta be game. Let's just put it plain and simple. You got to be game. There's no time to be lazing around and then expect things to work for you. If you choose a lazy life, then stop blaming others when they progress with their lives, because they've chosen to do something. If you are going to be lazy, be broke, be disgusted and busted. But when other people rise to the occasion and do something with their lives, stop pointing fingers at them, because they've done something with their lives. And remember, nobody gets more than 24 hours a day. We all get 24 hours a day. No matter what part of the world you are in, you get 24 hours a day. And we all breathe in oxygen and we all breathe out carbon dioxide. Nobody's breathing in some special air that gives them capacity to do certain things better than others. So stop, living in a world that does not exist, where you think things must just be provided for you all of the time. Yes, we do understand that, as I've said, our leaders need to create platforms for us to flourish. They need to make sure that we live in peaceful societies. But we got to get up, and do something with our lives. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. We can't just live our lives day in, day out, just pointing fingers at others. And remember, when you point one finger at somebody else, remember the other four are pointing back at you. So it is time that we rise to the occasion, and it's time that we do something with our lives. I just want to leave you with this wise word of Proverbs chapter 6, verse 10 through 11. The Bible says, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of hands to rest, then poverty will come on you like a robber and need like a bandit. So in other words, if you are given to laziness, you don't want to work hard, you will always lack in one way or the other. And if you do not check your mindset, you will always think the reason why you have not is because of other people. Yet it is your own decision that has gotten you where you are. We are a product of our choices. Every decision we make on a daily basis defines who we become going forward. It's your brother, Dr. Makemba, saying, get up, stop being lazy, do something with your life. Till we meet again, tata.